In this video, I'm going to show you a variety of ways to run the wires from your rooftop lights down to their power source, how easy it is to use the wiring harness that comes with your new lights, and I'll be showing you details on how I made a custom wiring harness to provide power to numerous lights we're putting on top of our Wanderbug project. Now the lights I'll be wiring up are from Nightlight. They're 7-inch and 5.5-inch combination flood and spot pattern lights. I'll explain why we chose these particular lights in a little bit. Like many quality light kits, this too came with a complete wiring harness right down to the switch. Now by far the easiest and safest way to wire up lights is by using this. Starting at the lights, hooking up to your power source should be your last step. Nightlight has these nice connectors coming right out of the light, nice and waterproof, and just plug these into your harness. A great thing about these pre-made harnesses is the wires are already pre-sized for the amount of amperage that's going to be going through them. You don't even have to think about it. Then these wires lead to a relay. Normally this is mounted under the hood. I'll talk about how we get these wires down to the battery in a little bit. Lights like these, or light bars in general, typically use about 85 watts or 7 to 10 amps to operate, more or less. Most dash switches like these aren't rated for that amount of current. They may likely catch on fire. The high amp rated relay is actually the switch that turns the lights on. The switch just sends a low amp current to the relay, turning it on. And if you want to use a different switch than the one that comes with your kit, just simply unplug it or cut it off, splice in your own. Then the switch plugs into the harness with another nice coupling. Then we'll take the wires coming out of the relay and hook up to the battery. Now, no matter what harness you use or what you make, be sure that you have a fuse as close to the power source as possible. And this harness from Nightlight comes with one. In the event of a wire accidentally being cut into or a short in the relay or in the lights, this fuse will blow, protecting all this from possibly catching on fire. Now we're ready to hit the switch and fire these babies up. Now let's talk about how we're going to get the wires from the lights down to the battery and the switch. On our 4Runner, we have a groove in the windshield rubber molding that this cable fits in nicely. We just simply took this wire cable and pressed it down in it. Then at the bottom, we ran it underneath this piece of plastic trim and then down to the battery. Or you can run it through a door or a hatch. Pick the best spot and then drill a small hole through the rubber, leaving enough rubber here on the seal to protect it from that sharp steel body edge. Then just simply pass your wire through that hole, and this will seal itself up pretty good. A little touch of silicone as you pull the wire through will help with that too. And then just pull back whatever interior trim you have here, run your wire through it and down up into the front. Another method is to drill a hole through the roof. This is the most daunting method, of course, especially if it's a newer vehicle, but it can also be very simple. Now you could take a smaller drill bit, drill a hole, pass your wires through that way, and then plug it up with silicone. It's not the most attractive or long-lasting method, but it definitely works. To make that work a little bit better would be to use a rubber grommet like this that goes in the hole and then the wires go through it. This will help protect it from rubbing against the sharp edges of the body. For our application, we're going with the hole through the roof. To pass through the roof and to make it waterproof, we're using a cable gland like this. It has a rubber seal inside, and when you tighten this nut down, this compresses, making a nice 90% waterproof seal. We're going to put a little bit of silicone on the wire where it passes through here, and that will fill in any kind of voids in between the wires. Now, why we chose these particular lights from Nilight: form and function. Aesthetically, we wanted round lights because we just thought they looked better on a 64-year-old vehicle. And we didn't want a narrow, thin, long light bar. That just wouldn't fit in. And we wanted different diameters. That way that would help accentuate the curvature of the bug roof. And the different sizes had to look identical other than their size. Function. We didn't want lights that just put out a spotlight beam like most of these types of lights do. We wanted lights that put out a spot and flood light pattern. Light that would go out a far distance and also illuminate the foreground. These do just that, and they don't cost a fortune. Now, we've used lights from Nilight in the past and they've held up great, so that's why we chose these. Now, we put links to these lights down in the video description as well, along with links to a lot of the parts we're using in our custom wiring harness. I've got 4 lights, that's 8 wires, plus a light I'm putting in the back that'll act as a third brake light and a reverse light. So that's a lot of wires to be feeding down through the roof into the fuse box. So I made a junction box, much like you'd have in your house. Now this is just a waterproof little project box I found on Amazon. Again, I put links to a lot of this stuff down in the video description. And it's waterproof, has a lid with a little seal that gets bolted together. And this is going to be mounted on the underside of the roof rack. And here I'm using the same type of compression waterproof glands that I use to go down through the roof. These are the wires coming in from our front lights, and they get tied into each other here at this junction box right here. We got negative and a positive post. Now, instead of running a really thick ground wire all the way down into the inside of the body and then to the front, I'm just going to ground everything to the roof rack with this cable right here. And that connects into the negative terminal here. These here are the wires going out to what's going to be our third brake light and reverse light. And this is where the wires come out that are going to go down underneath the hood. Lucky for us, we don't have a headliner in here yet, so we were able to run the wire down behind this channel on the roof. Then down inside the A-pillar. Like I said earlier, the easiest way to wire up these lights is by using the supplied relay and wiring harness. However, Wanderlust Overland very seldom goes the easy route. We're doing a much more custom install where we tie the roof lights into our headlights high beam circuit. Now, every vehicle is different, so I'm not going to go into any great detail on how you should tie into your electrical system in your vehicle. The wiring here in the Wanderbug is extremely simple. I did it all myself. I know exactly what's going on here. Now, if you're not totally familiar with your own vehicle, and you're not sure where you should be tying into, this is a great time to enlist the help of somebody who knows. Late model vehicle electrical systems can be very tricky and extremely sensitive to any aftermarket wiring. Seek professional help if you are not completely certain on how to tie in. Now, we planned ahead a little bit for all the added on lights and accessories and stuff, so we already have extra relays in place. Now we have a dedicated relay for the roof lights, and that's where they get their main power. Now to turn on the lights, we have a little jumper wire from the high beam relay that comes from the switch that goes to our new relay for the roof lights. So when you turn on the high beams, the high beam relay activates and the roof light relay activates. We'll turn the low beam headlights on, and then we hit the high beams. Woo hoo hoo, man, that is bright. And back to the low beams. We provided links to the lights and a lot of the components that we used in the custom harness down below in the video description. And if you haven't already, we hope you consider subscribing to our channel. Thanks for watching.